Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is 7:09 in the morning, News Radio 830, KHVH. Rick, I'm on a program with you, and as you know, Monday mornings at this time are reserved for the fellas. It is the SHOPO Hour, and it is a pleasure to be with you. Brothers are in studio. Brother Bobby has some time off. Looking forward to connecting with Bobby-san. I didn't know I could get all Japanese style, Mr. Nippon, with Bobby Kovacs. But again, with us, Brother Nick in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having us back.
It is a pleasure indeed. Oh, my gosh. You're just a force of nature. That's all I can say.
Good morning, Rick. Steve Keogh, VP of SHOPO, Police Sergeant with Honolulu PD. Happy and grateful to be here with you and your listeners. I just want you to know, Rick, I'm sitting next to Mark, and Mark obviously is looking good, feeling go. Just from the smell. Obviously, he has his cologne on, English gentleman today. I'm getting blown out because I'm sitting right next to him. I thought it was your air freshener, but I just realized.
I figured I'd be a gentleman today.
Yeah, English gentleman.
As a matter of fact, I had wafts in a scent of high karate.
Ooh,
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, man. Anyway, Mark. Hi, Mark. Good morning.
Man, we just all went back to the 1970s.
Yeah, we
that's
did.
a way back right there.
Okay.
Brother Mark, good morning.
Morning, Rick. Morning, guys. Happy
morning,
Monday.
Happy
Monday to everybody.
It is. I'm going to start with the lead story, and it's this.
Ooh, awesome.
This is
Can't wait for that.
coming up at 8:10. I'm going to talk with Sharon of YMT, and we're going to launch our trip to Egypt that is coming up in October, and that's in the next hour. But this hour, it's all about the SHOPO Hour, and I can't wait to get into it. All right. Is there anything from last week's conversation that you want to revisit at all? Make anything happen since the last time we've seen each other you want to lead off with? Because I have about 48 different things.
Yeah, we got a lot of new stuff that happened after the show, so I say we delve into that.
Why don't you go ahead? Go ahead and.
Well, let's start with Mr. Carl Rhodes. Bail reform, like nothing happened last time. The people obviously just 100% rejected that, and I'm going to say the crap that they proposed, and right back at it. Bail reform. Get arrested for a felony, let them go. Any misdemeanors, let them go. It's like, what don't these politicians get? What don't they get? So
you got to stop the.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
It's hurting my ears.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I understand because this is Bill 36 in the Senate.
Yeah.
And it is steaming forward.
Yes.
It has already crossed. It went through third reading already. And they are fast-tracking this to be passed. It'll be one of the first pieces of legislation that will be passed this session, without a doubt. But that's only if folks who are in opposition.
Come out strong. Senate Bill
350. Yep.
And there's a companion one.
Yeah, could you hit that? Sorry.
Senate Bill 350.
Yeah.
And there's a companion in the House.
Yeah.
So.
A lot going on, Brother Steve.
Yeah, well, Rick, you asked us one of the reasons why we like to be on your platform here, and that is to share with the public about issues that affect public safety and law enforcement. And for your listeners, we just want to encourage them to educate themselves on House Bill 1336. Obviously, bills are brought up on both sides, the Senate and the House. On the Senate, it's House Bill 350, and on the House of Representatives side, it's House Bill 1336. And basically, it was introduced by a representative by the name of Sonny Ganadin. And we feel, from a law enforcement standpoint, that this bill is not going to keep the community safe. And we want to encourage your listeners to please go to the website, put in the statement, Hawaii legislator, the state of Hawaii legislator, and then you can put in the search for 1336. You could look at who introduced this and what are some of the requirements. But again, Rick, if I can just dive into it a little bit, I know it's gone through a couple of readings. Mm-hmm. When this bill was first introduced, we went back to officers basically being told to not arrest for nonviolent C felonies, nonviolent misdemeanors, and nonviolent petty misdemeanors. And then, as I understand it, there was a couple readings, and now it's on the table where they have it, instead of saying wording like shall, it's may. I want your listeners to know that officers have discretion, okay? in criminal cases, we have the discretion whether an arrest shall be made. Specifically regarding Honolulu PD, in arrest, you shall arrest for domestic violence and abuse type cases. But for misdemeanors and petty misdemeanors, officers already have the discretion to issue a criminal summons. And I realize in this bill that's going through, Rick, they want to, again, tell the officers how to do their job, tell the courts how to do their job. And we just want the community to come together. Unlike last time where we all kind of got blindsided by this bill, we want people to go inform themselves, see how they feel about it. And if they feel strongly against it, that they reach out to their elected officials, and let's put a stop to this early before it progresses.
Amen. Brother Nick, thoughts on this?
Yes, thanks. I would urge the public and even the lawmakers out there who are considering this bill to please take your time and be very careful about this. The decision you're about to make is extremely important. Class C felonies, for example, are the most common types of felonies out there. And you'd be pretty amazed what type of an offense, non-violent offense, is a Class C felony.
Give us some examples.
Theft in the second degree.
Okay.
Somebody steals something of yours that's worth a certain amount of money. It's a felony. You would take that personally. Property crime, as we know in Honolulu, is rampant. Mm-hmm. It's a very big problem.
Yeah.
How would you feel if your car was stolen and somebody got arrested for it, or stopped for it, and you couldn't have them arrested immediately because, let me take that back. The person got arrested, but they were immediately released, right? Pending whatever the outcome of the trial would be. What if, what if, for example, somebody was caught driving your car while it was stolen? Same thing. There's just a huge ton of Class C felony offenses out there that are extremely important. These laws are important. They're there for a reason, right? To deter crime. And to allow somebody to just simply walk away after the arrest with a court date, please show up on time to your court date. Come on, that's completely unreasonable.
And that's manifested. And we're going to cite a story about repetitive violations that lead to not very good conclusions. But Mark, before we move on, final thoughts about the bills and calls to action, and what else?
We need to do like last time. We need to be vigilant. I know Stolen Stuff Hawaii. He had posted it. We need to get out there, and I know these politicians. I know Carl Rose. They show up to their neighborhood board meetings and all that. You got to grill them. Let them have it. Don't let them get away with this. Because, hey, I'm going to say this, right? People are going to think I'm nuts, but Carl Rhodes is one of the single biggest threats to Hawaii with all these bills that he tries to push through the Senate. And it's not good for the everyday life of the citizen over here. So I don't know what this guy is thinking. But we just need to, just like last time, put the pedal to the metal and put the pressure on these politicians, and this can't happen.
The previous commentary was simply and slowly that of Mark Criccio, home address, and telephone number.
I'll give Carl Rose my address.
Oh, I believe he may have it already. We are dialed in together, but we are covering a lot of ground, as indicated by our lead off this morning. But there's more to come, including your telephone calls at 521-8383. Folks, it is the SHOPO Hour, and we return with the fellas after this. Once again, telephone calls, 521-8383. The fellas are in studio. Brother Nick, Steve, and Brother Mark with us, taking your calls at 521-8383. And those calls will be coming in just a few short moments. On the Big Island, there was a story recently that involved an officer and pit bulls. I had made some comments about this particular story, and instead of my opinion, I'd like to turn it over to you fellas, the interpretation, what we should know, what we may not know, and the role of responding to calls and the unexpected. And who'd like to start? Nick?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not completely familiar with the situation that happened on the Big Island, but as a patrol officer, I have responded to calls involving stray dogs, violent dogs, dogs that have attacked people, and dogs that have attacked other animals. I've noted that in the short time I've been a police officer, there has been more and more of an emphasis put on controlling animals in situations like that locally with our revised ordinances. And also with the Hawaii revised statutes, animal cruelty and the definition is expanded over time. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that pets more and more lately have become part of the family rather than just an animal that you keep around for entertainment purposes or because it makes you feel good. It's actually part of your family now. That kind of goes in a couple of different ways because when people's dogs or animals attack other animals, they take it personally, right? But at the same time, there's a measure of responsibility that you have for this animal, and that all comes back to ownership. It does. If your dog or your animal attacks and injures a human being or another animal to the point where the animal is seriously injured or dies, you are criminally responsible for that situation.
Steve?
So an officer never wants to discharge their firearm. That's a last resort. I know that Chief Ben and his team are doing an internal investigation to make sure that everything was followed. So they're gonna have that pathway. When I saw the video, like others, the officers were going there on a call to serve some paperwork. Okay, they don't know what they're walking into. So obviously they're going to have a heightened sense of awareness for officer safety. But when I saw the video and I saw all the dogs getting let out like that in a big pack, I said, oh, this is terrible. Those officers might not have known those dogs previously. And it's not like it's a bunch of little furry dash hounds coming out. It's larger breed dogs. And the first thing I said was owner responsibility. How did all of those dogs get let out of the front door when the officers had announced themselves and their office? Who would think that's okay or a good idea? And it's unfortunate, as Nick said, pets are part of the family. And I love dogs. Mark loves dogs. I mean, I was very empathetic that happened. But I'm sorry. The accountability is placed on the owner of the animal in that situation, 1,000%. And then the officer on the Big Island had stated that the dog jumped up on him. Well, that's a training issue. If you have a breed that, let's say, has a certain public perception, that's incumbent then on the owner of that dog to train that dog impeccably so things like this don't happen. Dogs are not supposed to jump up on people. So, Rick, I'm sorry that it happened. Chief Ben and his team are going to do an administrative investigation because a firearm was discharged. They're going to do their due diligence. But as an animal lover myself, I'm sorry. The officers did what they did to protect themselves. This, to me, solely rests on the shoulders of the owner of the dogs. That's my take.
Brother Mark?
Yeah, I agree. It starts with owner responsibility. You know, as a dog person, I mean, you got to control your dog, number one, because you have people coming, whether it be law enforcement or anybody, and you got to be cognizant of not everybody. You know, people are afraid of dogs, whether they're friendly or not. So, control your dogs, train your dogs. I trained my dogs for a year or two, and then they're good. You know, but you know, I know a couple officers here. One that actually had to shoot a dog, and another one that got injured from a dog that was out for like 2 to 3 months from his hand, being nerve damage, everything. So, again, owner responsibility, control your dogs.
Rick, if I could just say one thing. Sure. I think it's very unfair for anybody to armchair quarterback this event and say that the officers should know how to handle dogs in this situation. That's actually outrageous. Would you expect, if you brought your dog to a dental office or any other professional and the professional acted a certain way, that we would expect the officers to somehow be dog whisperers and understand how to either talk this dog down? We don't want to. What I'm concerned about is we don't want members of the community to put unrealistic expectations on our officers. We can't be all knowing all the time, all seeing. And I know that there were certain individuals that came out that alluded to the fact that well, maybe the officer's training or the officers reacted too quickly. Would we expect anybody else in any other profession, if a large breed dog jumped up on their chest, to do anything differently if they had a firearm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that, Nick.
Yeah, if I could just add to that as well, to build on what Major Crecho says, we have had incidents in the past in the Honolulu Police Department where large breed dogs who had some type of security training or military training have been used as weapons to attack police officers with. That has happened. I've actually been there, one case myself. All situations are unpredictable like that. You don't really know. But at the same time, there is a precedent for these animals being used as weapons against police officers.
My goodness. My bone of contention also was, here we go, in the news report that was aired, that the focus was on the emotional loss of the owner of the animal. Yeah. And there was no real consideration for the fact. And in the text of the story itself, where the officer reported the threat with the jumping of the dog and attacking X, Y, and Z, I'm glad, thank you, all three of you, for giving the perspective, because we should all understand that. And you boys know my experience with dog bites, and
that's right. It's not fun.
And Rick, you talk about it. The media portrayed it as, what a terrible loss for the family and what an emotional event for them. Let's not forget, this was emotional for the officers that responded. How about the officer that had to discharge his firearm because he feared for his life? Where was the perspective from the officer's point of view? Like, hey, this was traumatic for our officers that responded to the event. It's not all about the family of the dog.
Amen. Amen. It is the SHOPO Hour, and once again, News Radio 830 KH3. Welcome back. It is the SHOPO Hour, 7:34 in the morning. News Radio 830 KH3H. Again, let's go to, if you'd like to join us, telephone calls at 521-8383. And waiting ever so patiently is Richard Maui. And Richard, welcome to the program, Richard. Good morning.
Thank you, gentlemen, and all officers, Nick, Steve, and Mark. I'd like to just get your opinion on, I agree with you about that dog attack. I saw a picture of it. The owner was they opened the door, the dogs come running out. I mean, I live here where we have feral pigs, and that was worse than a feral pig, even though they hide, they sleep all day and they're up all night destroying your yard. But most people in Honolulu or Oahu don't have that problem that we have over here. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, officers. I don't support George Soros, and all his no bail ideas, and I don't like the revolving door offenders. And also one other quick thing, and I'll go. Did any of you know about that balloon? They said all of a sudden we had a Chinese balloon over Hawaii. I don't remember anything about it. I'll listen on the air. Thanks, everybody.
Wow, appreciate it. Thank you very much, Richard, for thoughts on all counts. This whole Chinese balloon thing, there was how we doing it? I feel there's a lot of shuffling. Are the headphones not working?
No, I was just moving my headphones because Mark spilled his coffee.
We just got the carpets clean.
Sorry,
that's just
Mark just spilled his coffee.
Table and me. Okay, so we're good. We're good.
Just moving.
We're good.
Listen, I have a T-shirt that I use to mop up.
Romeo to the rescue over here.
There we go. Thanks, Romes.
Cool, man. We're good.
It is just like a
can't take me
any
place.
Chinese balloon thing.
My first question was
ever anything.
I don't remember it over here, but to the caller's point, we thank you for your participation. Thanks for the feedback. I can't believe we waited so long to take care of that. Yeah. I don't get that. I don't. Yeah. I didn't. We don't. From a police standpoint, I don't know too much about it being here over Hawaii. But I remember saying to myself, "Are we going to take care of this? I mean, how long is it going to be floating? Right? That's not right."
So it was reported about 4 months ago. That we had similar, evidently not really reported, but that's according now follow-up reports after the shooting down of this particular one.
I mean, not to sound sarcastic, I'm sure the Chinese have better technology than a balloon and obvious, I don't know, cameras and electronical devices. It seems like something out of the early 19th century. But with that being said, if it's over our airspace, it's affecting our sovereignty. It may or may not be taking pictures or whatever. Yeah, get rid of it.
I opined on the show before we came on that it was a test.
Yeah, I think so.
That's accurate.
Chinese testing us, our resolve. What will the Americans do if we have an incursion over their airspace, as something as benign perhaps as even a weather balloon? What will be the reaction?
Well, with this being the Pacific Fleet in Pearl Harbor, I'm sure that we knew that was either in our space or, I mean, how's this?
Right.
We knew it was here. If it was anywhere remotely near Hawaii, with all the military presence, all of the intel, all of the technology, we for sure knew about it. And if we didn't take care of business over here, then maybe it wasn't deemed an immediate threat, and the powers that be thought that they should just let it ride a little bit.
What role does HPD or any county police department, what role do we have in regard to federal incidents? If there is a military incident, if there is a military or federal directive, how does that interplay work? All the way from just information to perhaps deployment of some sort.
Well, it would probably be just cooperation, because we work with the feds a lot, right? So it would probably be what the feds might need assistance with, and then we could help them with it. But normally it's their show, but so we'll have cases ourselves that the feds will take, or they might not, and then we charge it on our end. But HPD works closely with a lot of federal agencies, not just FBI and all that. They work with a lot. Department of State. It's like when presidents come to town,
right.
our SSD is involved very heavily with the Secret Service. So, but it's mostly an assistance type thing.
Gotcha. So, dramatically speaking, movies, television programs, people get the impression that jurisdiction is a big battle between different agencies, whether it's fed, local, state, etc. Does that really exist? Is there a big tug of war over this is mine, you stay away, and all that?
I haven't come across that.
Okay.
I mean, to me, when I worked with federal agencies, we got along very well. Just like, on the East Coast, especially in New York, fire and police don't get along, right? But we get along great over here, right? So I asked my cousin, who's retired sergeant from NYPD, right? So I said, what is the deal with you guys? He goes, it's just an ego thing with them over there.
Yeah.
So it's like, they think they're better than us and blah, 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 blah. But we have a really, really good relationship with fire and other agencies here. So
as far as our federal law enforcement partners, Rick, they don't have a large footprint here in the islands. So they utilize us quite often as part of their investigations. So I know we have a good working relationship with our federal partners, and they need to be accommodating because they're asking us for personnel, training to assist them because, again, they don't have a large footprint here in the islands. So I think the partnership is successful. I think it works. I would say that on a national level, I'm sure there's some friendly banter between federal agencies and local law enforcement. I know that happens, that occurs, because let's remember, federal agents and police officers, just in the titles alone, our federal partners are described as agents and investigators. And then when you come a little bit more locally, you have police officer, deputy sheriff. So our federal partners are agents and investigators, and locally law enforcement, it's sheriff, deputies, it's police officers. So there's some friendly banter, I'm sure, that occurs.
I'd like to have some of that recorded and played on the program.
But one thing,
finger on the red button the whole
one thing,
time.
Rick,
yes.
though, when I was a detective, I loved it when the feds wanted to take my case because I knew that because the feds, they got stricter, penalties,
I hear
right?
you.
So it's like, yeah, you could take it. I want to see this guy go away for a while. So,
I'm going to go back to the Big Island for a moment. I don't have the details of the story per se, but there was a shooting involved recently, and this on the Big Island. The Big Island suspect was shot in the commission and a threat to police officers. But as we come to find out that this individual had numerous felony convictions and was out on parole of yet again other convictions, and learning that the prosecutors there had bypassed several charges which facilitated his ability to be released. I only bring this up from my standpoint to say this personifies what we discuss all the time, that the revolving door is harmful, and what our men and women in uniform have to contend with. This would not have occurred if there was a proper justice system applied to those who break the law. Thoughts? Nick?
Well, going back to the beginning of the show, bail reform, a lot of focus from legislatures, politicians, and also certain members of the public to make things, for lack of a better term, easier for criminals, simpler for criminals, and so on. This is what you get. I don't know how to put it any other way. When you do business this way, unfortunately, this is going to be the result. And like I said last week, police officers go into situations where the situation has been set often by the perpetrator. We do often not have a choice but to react to what we're given. And respectfully, I think that's probably exactly what happened in that situation. That's the hand we were dealt. Those are the cards that we were given. That's the play we had to make.
And the thing that's irksome is that all the attention will be a police officer discharged the fire, another shooting, and then the investigations on he's been off duty, whatever it is, all of that swirl. We have to understand the criminal element that exists that we citizens are not demanding out of our elected officials. And that, to me, I give you so much credit to your team, your men and women that wear this uniform, what you have to contend with just to do your jobs is just absolutely nuts.
You know, Rick, when the criminal justice system fails, it fails the officers, it fails the law enforcement officers, and it fails the community. In this situation, you're asking yourself, the judicial system, the prosecutor's office, when the wheel of justice comes off the rails, the community and then the police in the community suffer. For example, like you just highlighted, officer discharges firearm. What you don't hear is the rabbit hole of how did the officers get put in this situation? How was this gentleman not remanded back into custody? How was he still able to go out? Was there a breakdown in the paroling authority? Was there a breakdown? Was he not appearing? It's always, what did the police do? And it's incumbent upon the community to take a step back. The police in this case were reactive. They wanted to preserve their lives and safety. How did the police officers get put in this situation? To your point, was he on the streets because, again, we don't have enough prison space? And when the criminal justice system fails, unfortunately, the police agencies are left to be the scapegoats to that failure. But in all reality, there's a lot more moving parts to criminal justice than just a police department or one officer. And it's unfortunate, to your point, that we, as police officers, we end up taking the brunt of the failures.
It is 7:46 in the morning already. News Radio 830 KHVH. Brother Nick, Brother Steve, Brother Mark in studio in the waning moment. It's already 7:47. Taking your telephone calls if you would like at 521-8383. We're going to continue on with the SHOPO Hour right after this. Hey, welcome back. We're here with the fellas and with brothers Nick and Steve and Mark. It is the SHOPO Hour each Monday at this time where we cover a lot of substantive ground. And by the way, for those dialed in, this is a unique opportunity to speak with not one but three gentlemen who have served and continue to serve on our with our HPD. And if you have anything you'd like to know, give a call. I'm going to bring up, we don't have to spend a lot of time, but with the settlement with Mr. Pawana, is this the end? Are we done? Does this close out the Kealoha era and the debacle that was?
I honestly can't answer that because him and the wife caused so much damage to the community, to the department, to the prosecuting attorney's office. So who knows what else might come up? It's just wow, crazy.
So within the department, the legacy of the Kealohas continues.
Well, I know as a department, we've denounced that. We have new leadership, a new, I don't want to say a new beginning, but basically he's not the chief anymore. We have a new chief. We have a new administration. And I'm sure that our current leadership in Honolulu PD, Chief Joe and his team, are not going to ever repeat something like that. I think they have better character. I think they are police professionals, and I don't anticipate our community having to deal with a chief of police going sideways like that again. And remember, this wasn't just a black eye to the PD. This is a black eye to the prosecutor's office. So there's more things here. But to your question, Mr. Puna, he received a settlement. I hope he feels in some way made whole by this. He can move on with his life, and the community can move on. The police department can move on. The prosecutor's office can move on, and a new day is here.
Any morale issues surrounding this, Nick, or have we moved on?
I haven't heard of any morale issues surrounding it. In fact, I haven't really heard a whole lot of talk at all about it amongst the rank and file of the department. I think this is the end of one chapter of the situation. I think there's still a bit more to go in this novel. There are other public figures that are still waiting to see what happens to them. But, a learning experience for all of us. It's always going to be with us in the department for those of us who served with former chief or under him. We take that situation as an example of what not to do, and we move on.
There we go. I'd like to turn it over to the gentleman because we have about 4 or 5 minutes remaining. A lot of things that were top of mind since the last time we chatted. Is there anything else that we have not covered this morning that you want to make sure that we spend some time discussing?
No,
Okay.
Thanks for letting us be here. I guess if I was going to say anything, I wanted to say this the last couple of times we were here is please do not drink and drive. Please do not use drugs and drive. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. I love to go out and have Michelob Ultra when I play golf. And I tell you, if I know I'm going to have a beverage, I'll show you my Uber account. It's
not worth it.
It's millions of dollars. But
How about on your Uber Eats account, Rick? Is that pretty hefty as well?
no, it's the Uber Drinks account you have to be aware of. No. But Nick, you're absolutely right. It does not take much. If you know you're going to go out and imbibe whatever it is, be sure you make the arrangements. Whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's Safe Drive Hawaii, which is a great organization, or Uber Cab, whatever it is, there's zero excuse. Zero. It really pisses me off to see that people are still out and about. Anyway, that's just my take. Steve?
Rick, I would just respectfully ask your listeners to educate themselves on these bail reform possible laws that are coming out. Again, that's House Bill 1336 on the House side, and then Senate Bill 350. Take the time, educate yourself, speak up if you don't like it, use the channels through your elected leaders then to voice your concerns or issues with it. And always happy and grateful to be here with you, Rick.
This is tremendous. Brother Mark.
Hey, I wanted to cover this, and I never got a chance, and then there's one thing we never forget. January 19th was the 3rd anniversary of Tiffany Enriquez and Kolike Kalama, that horrible incident in Diamond Head. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and the sacrifice they did for our community, and we'll never forget.
Yeah.
So,
Well put. Well put. We have a few moments remaining, and I think what I want to follow up on is the recruitment and where we are, because there's still a lot of cacophony surrounding. We need more office. We need more. And are you confident that we're on the right path to where we can bolster the number in the ranks of HPD, or is there perhaps something else that can be done that could possibly increase the number of men and women on the force? Nick?
Yeah, real briefly, I think we're on the right track. In Honolulu, I think this is still very much a development phase. A lot of different ideas running around from both the union and also from the department. The one thing I would like to stress, however, is that we need good community support for law enforcement in order for people to have the willingness to buy into this as a profession. If they don't feel like the public is supporting them when they're doing the right thing, which the vast majority of police officers are out here, you're just not going to get people to want to take the job. So we appreciate all of the support that we get. That's really crucial. So please keep it up.
Wow. Thank you very much for that, Nick. Brother Steve?
Just to piggyback off what Nick shared, I know that I've come on your platform and I've said many times that community support and involvement in their police department is essential. It fosters morale. Good morale means that more work is going to get done, more effective work is going to get done. And to Nick's point, we're not going to have people wanting to come in this profession if the community that they're looking to serve vilifies them or they feel that they don't have support. They'll just go do something else. So community support is vital for local law enforcement agencies.
Mark?
yeah, I got to agree with these two guys. Community support, and how about the news agencies getting on our side for, to help out. But hey, let's face it, recruiting's tough, and not only in our profession. You look at every profession out there, it's like, it's hard to get people. So, the department's doing what they can.
How would you just, we have just a moment. Yeah. How do you gauge community support? What's the sense you get when you're out and about, both professionally, socially? Nick, briefly, where are we with the community?
I think I don't want to seem pessimistic about it, but right now locally, we're pretty good. But I wish there was more. I'd like to see more. Most of the people I encounter are very happy and very courteous. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when I encounter younger people, I just don't get the vibe right now that they're really interested in doing this job. And I think it's because of such terrible public vilification. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Terrible public endorsement by the media, let's put it that way. The unwillingness to say police officers are doing a good job.
And there we go. On that note, it's a way to say aloha to both Brother Nick, Brother Steve, and Brother Mark. Thank you for taking the time every Monday to be here. Thanks for putting it out in the open, for being transparent and honest, and giving us an idea so we can understand more, and perhaps our community will rise up in greater numbers to support our men and women in uniform. So, fellas, thank you so very much. We'll see you next time.
Take care, Rick. See you next week.
Thank you.